Welcome to another video.
Today we're discussing the Panasonic SE-5808 from 1978. What's interesting about this is it has an auto eject button. It has an electronic eject. Yeah, so on 8-tracks you usually don't have like a soft eject button. Whoever owned this before us had a large stack of 8-tracks next to it and pleasure programmed.
Pleasure programmed?
For her pleasure.
And for an extra 50 cents we got a Billy Joel 8-track.
Billy Joe.
By William Joel.
It also came with this Radio Shack switch box, which had this very elaborate set of typed instructions, which led me to believe that, this person just used this 8-track till it broke. He attached another one. There was another one sitting there. And so I thought it would be an easy fix, but I sure was wrong. So in 1978, this was offered as part of the Panasonic Systems 5000 series. It came with these thruster speakers. There was a 5508 cassette deck and a 5808 8-track and a 5008 that had neither cassette deck or an 8-track. As you can see, they're almost identical. It would have cost you about $400 and had a whopping 10 watts per channel, which is not a lot. It's just a combo component system. It's not very high-end, as we found out when we dug inside of it. So when we got it out, we turned it on just to see what would happen. We got lights. Okay, let's see. Turn it over to FM, see if you get anything. Oh, here we go.
New car sales. The 4for4 from Wendy's has a lot of fans because it's a deal.
So here we discover we have a dead left channel. So we have a dead left channel in FM stereo. There's your iPad. You took an iPad picture of it. All right, anyway, so we got a dead left channel.
And for selling it.
Yeah. Well, there's the other speaker.
Or not.
Yeah.
I'm loyal to my hunger. Whether you're loyal to one sandwich or all 8. The
All right.
Wendy's 4for4 has a sandwich.
So we're getting sound out of the radio. Let's try the 8-track.
Now that's deliciously different. And participating Wendy's for a limited time. Offer not valid in Alaska and Hawaii.
Ooh. Huge buzz started when I put that 8-track in. You hear that? Hear that? Well, you can't.
Maybe you have to turn off the radio.
Hear that? Well, it's not working. Eject's not doing anything either. Interesting. All right, well, so radio works, sort of. A little dusty. Let's try the turntable next. Yeah, see, it's frozen. Yeah, that sucker's not moving at all. So we got some work to do to make this thing, bring this back to life. What do you think? You think we can do it?
Uh-huh.
All right, well, let's get started. We have to remove a power cord, an audio plug input, and a ground wire, and then the turntable just lifts off. So here's the inside. On this side, you see the tuner module, the amplification area, and on the left side, the 8-track. So we're going to start with the 8-track. The belt is on the bottom, which is worse than the Radio Shack, where we're going to have to take that out of there to even get to the belt. And
There's my sock.
yeah, as we're going to see when we take it apart, the belt is not the problem. The problem is the motor. The belt is fine. The problem is that motor.
Belt looks new.
Yeah, well, I doubt it's new, but that motor, the motor is just stiff and won't turn. So the motor dates back to 1978, and it's not really. This is really starting to turn out to be a cheap system, so I'm not really willing to spend money on a new motor. So we took it apart and cleaned it, and after we took the motor apart and cleaned it up and got down to the insides of it, it started working.
Good.
We put it all back together, and the motor turned, and nothing. No sound. So that wasn't good news. So we had to figure it out. I mean, that could mean a lot of things. It could mean there's an electronic problem. Could mean the heads are bad. I mean, basically the way it works, you've got an 8-track module that sends the signal to a playback amp and then sends it to an output amp. And we know the output amp is good because the radio's working, the stereo's working, the auxiliary's working. So I decided to build a Frankenstein tape deck. If you remember the other video with the Kenwood tape deck, and just
Frankenstein.
not that kind of Frankenstein, but anyway, so
Shoot
here we
Frankenstein.
we're going to take the head wires off the 8-track here and route them, instead of through the circuit board on the Panasonic, we're going to route that over to the Kenwood's playback amp. Now these wires don't match up exactly, like the ground left and right are in different order. And
Why do you switch wires?
well, I'm telling you that. Anyway, so basically we're routing the output of the 8-track over into the Kenwood, and the wires don't match up exactly. And then we're going to flip this thing on auxiliary input. So the sound is going to go out of the 8-track, over through the Kenwood's playback amp, and then back into the Panasonic there. So let's try it and see what happens.
It can't work!
Alright, so it works.
Why is the light showing?
So what this means is the playback amp is, the 8-track module is good, and the playback amp is bad, which is unfortunate because that means we've got to troubleshoot electronics to fix it. I mean, yeah, and you know, that's not exactly my area of expertise. Fortunately, it doesn't require much electronics expertise to find this problem. It's a bad transistor. So if you look at this closely, the transistor, the front, is, I don't know what happened, it got blown off the transistor. Usually there's writing on there, but there's no writing, and one of the transistor legs is completely loose. So there's the problem without any need of electronic troubleshooting. So another interesting thing, if you remember earlier, we learned that the two systems were part of the same line, and I can see certain evidence from this one that there's unused connectors, and the schematic that I found for the other system, the one with the tape deck, a lot of things in the numbering led me to believe it's the same board, so that way I was able to find kind of a similar transistor. So a little piece of marketing material helped me figure out what transistor might go in there. Here I've jammed another transistor just kind of in there just to see if this is actually going to work, if this is the problem. So let's see what happens. Huh? I hear a lot of hiss and some music fading out. Yeah, there's a lot of hiss in here. It's not going to blow up. It's going to work. Yeah, I think we hit it at the end of a track here.
Oh, man!
Alright, anyway, that's going to work. So it works.
Looks like a spaceship.
So now that we got that fixed, let's work on some of the other problems, like this auto eject. See, that big wheel, this whole thing is kind of a cheap mechanism, but that's supposed to kick the tape out. And notice I'm clicking the button, nothing's happening. So it's stuck. So it's just a matter of greasing it. I took the that pulley off. Yeah, there's me just manually kicking it off. So I took it off, put some grease on it, and that was pretty easy to fix. So it just kind of like rotates around, hits a little metal thing on the top, and pushes the tape out. So it's done. Now, another problem with the 8-track is this counter. It starts spinning, but then it stops. See, it should go easy, but watch it. I'll do a close-up here with the belt. I put a new belt on it, but it turns out the gear is just jamming up.
Why does the belt stop?
I don't know. Well, it's a good question. It stops because something's causing it to stop. So we took that thing apart, and both parts individually work fine. So, you know, but when you put them together, the teeth just don't match up. And what it is, you probably can't see from this video, but this, you can see the teeth kind of getting mashed up. I stuck some grease in there and ended up filing it down with a knife just to make it turn. But this gear has a hairline crack, which causes two of the teeth to be uneven. And so after putting it all together, I got it to go. And I don't know how accurate this clock ever was. It looks like it's going to be accurate. It looks like it's going to work fine for the first 10, 20 seconds. But by the time you get to like about a minute or so, it starts to really get out of sync. But at least it doesn't jam up and cause problems. You know, it's not surprising the motor was messed up because it's trying to pull the counter and do the auto eject and run the tape. Yeah. In order to fix the dead left channel, it was weird. The stereo, when you had an FM stereo, you didn't get anything out of the left channel. So I just sort of touched various resistors so I could hear buzzes on the left and right channel, and found, again, from the schematic for the other model, I could kind of trace it up and see that the signal stopped working around that resistor I have highlighted there in yellow. I started to bridge across those things with other resistors, and I didn't get anything. And if I bridged the two channels together, it shorted out, which told me that something was shorting out the channel. So the culprit turned out to be capacitor 311 there that was, I guess, grounded. So all I did was heat up the soldering iron and pull out one of the legs of capacitor 311, and that fixed it pretty much. It just started working. I didn't even replace it with another capacitor, but by this time, we'd already fixed so much stuff, I'm starting to wonder if I need to put any more effort in the stereo. But anyway, so basically that's it. The chip, I was able to measure voltage on the chip. That's the chip. It runs to those two resistors and runs out, and just tapping around there just to figure out where the signal died, measuring some resistances. And there's the capacitor there, 311, that was causing the problem. And now it works.
Only. Seriously? I'm going to do that for a Cardinals jersey? I don't think so. The National Football League continues to gear up for their season, college football.
As you remember, we had a stuck turntable. It wouldn't turn. So,
Rats, it doesn't work.
Rats, it doesn't work, right? Well, anyway, so yeah, you just take the top part off.
Get that out.
This is, if you read online, this is what's called a BSR turntable. And people online generally don't like these turntables. They call them rumbly, annoying turntables from the 70s. And the Zenith one that we showed in an earlier video had the same
If
turntable.
you touch that high voltage, it sucks some of your energy.
Well, no, it doesn't. That thing is actually the line output. Yeah, so what we did first is we just made the turntable move just to see what it would do. And so we got it turning just to see what would happen.
Yeah, hear that noise, that rattle? That doesn't sound good. I bet this is not going to sound good if it does make noise.
Unfortunately, it only played on one channel.
Oh, it makes noise. Hang on. One channel.
It actually sounds good.
But this is the other end of the phono input, and touching both sides indicated the preamp was good. So I ended up just really just cleaning it up a lot and reseating all the cartridge wires, and I was able to get it to make some sound in the end. Here's a bottom view of the turntable. It's just it's just a cheap BSR turntable. It just needs to be cleaned up a lot. It did have a lot of rumble and some stuff that, fidgeting with some of the gears and things. I could eventually get that to go away.
But it works.
It works, but you really have to blast it to get sound out of it. You have to turn the volume almost all the way up. So you really have to turn the volume almost all the way up. Probably the cartridge is bad or something, but this is such a cheap system, and it's not really worth investing the money in at this point. It's probably going to go out in the next garage sale.
Both channels are working.
Right there. Here you can see the turntable is warped, which adds to the sound quality, I'm sure.
I do have left and right channels working. Has to really be blasted.
Alright, so in conclusion, we fixed so many problems on this thing, and it's really just a cheap system. Probably ought to do another video about, cheap systems. The auto eject, which is what drew me to this thing in the first place. Here's how it works. At the end of the tape, the music fades out, the little foil thing that switches programs comes across, and it ejects.
Again, something terrible is about to happen.
So why do they even have auto eject? I mean, it doesn't make sense. There's a feature that's pretty common on consoles and other stuff from the 60s on up, and that's auto power on. So if we power the system off and we turn on the record player, notice it comes on. So you could really just, it'll automatically shut off after playing a record. So I thought, okay, that's cool. That's what you do with the 8-track. You turn on your remote speakers, put in your groovy 8-track, and you're set to go, and it'll turn off. But it doesn't work that way. If it's playing and you turn the power off, it's off. So the auto eject must be for recording, just to stop recording. I don't know, because I don't really know why they put that in there.
Here comes Ratzilla.
Ratzilla, yeah. The auto eject, epic fail in my opinion. I don't know what it's for. Also, there's melted plastic and there's wires, so at some point somebody else had been inside the system. The AFC button and the record button were switched when I started looking at it, which makes sense.
Here come the rats.
Yes. So what's this thing good for? Well, you found a use for it right. Yeah, some IKEA rats. That's about the only use. This thing's going out in the next garage sale, but it was a fun little project to get it working. An interesting bit of history. Only other thing we didn't test was the 8-track recorder, so let's test that with the microphone real quick.
Please give us a thumbs up if you watch that mail call.
Well, that's about it. And thanks to everybody for subscribing. We just hit our 1,000 subscriber mark yesterday, and
Yeah. I can't wait for 1 million subscribers and we get to hang up our YouTuber board and be rich forever.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but anyway.
See you next time for another video. Bye.